to my good friend, Dr. Green of Tennessee.
Gentleman from Tennessee is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's frustrating to hear when we see the political games played, when a piece of legislation isn't really about what it's intended to be about or what the title says that it is. And my colleague, whom I have respect for and have watched him argue cogently on some issues, is actually incorrect on this, suggesting that because I voted no on this bill, I somehow don't support NATO, is really, quite frankly absurd. I remember being in Iraq in 2003, when British SAS soldiers were wounded and my Tier 1 task force went in and we pulled those guys off the battlefield wounded and I took care of them in the back of the helicopter. I am fully supportive of NATO. And it, quite frankly, angers me that a suggestion, because I voted on a piece of legislation that had a clause in it that didn't make sense to me, that I'm somehow not supportive of NATO. No one has been more supportive of NATO. Yes, we voted no, many of us, on that bill, but it was because it created this extra body to discuss democracy when we're at war trying to save a democracy. How about we focus NATO on what's going on in Ukraine and not forming some new discussion group about democracy? So, yeah, several of us voted no, but I assure you, Mr. Speaker, and my colleague from Maryland, has nothing to do with a lack of support for NATO. Because when I was in that battlefield, pulling that British NATO warrior in there supporting us, I didn't see a lot of other people who might be pointing a finger at us for not supporting NATO on that battlefield that day. There was nobody in the helicopter in this room flying into Baghdad with me. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman
Reserve.
from Pennsylvania reserves. Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Mr. Speaker.